Okay, welcome to another Orbiter 2010 video. And in this video, we're not actually going to do any flying. In this video, I'm going to work with this program that I just downloaded recently called GMAX. And GMAX is a free program. I don't know that it's necessarily open source, but it's free. You can download it. And it's a 3D modeling program. It lets you make meshes, and then those meshes can be imported into Orbiter, so that you can actually see what the work looks like inside of Orbiter. So you can make buildings, or in this case, we could make rockets. Then you can actually create a configuration file to go along with your rocket, and then launch it into orbit. So it's kind of cool to be able to like make your own mesh and have some kind of result. Now, I don't really have much of an interest in building and designing, to be perfectly honest, but I do have an interest in the technical aspects of Orbiter. I like to know how things work, how the pieces fit together. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would try to basically make the Hello World equivalent of a rocket. Let me take a sip of water here. If you've ever taken a computer class or read a computer programming book, one of the first things that you always do is you create a program that just prints the words "Hello World" to the screen. It's very generic. It doesn't do anything, but it's just to get your hands into the action. So that's what I want to do here. I want to create the Hello World equivalent of a rocket. Let me go ahead and switch camera views. And what I'm going to do is actually turn the webcam off because it will block this here, and I don't really feel like moving the webcam around, so I'll just leave it off. Now, again, I'm a total newbie at all this kind of stuff. I don't know anything about it, so don't look at this as an instruction video by any means. This is sort of like the learn with me style videos that I did. But first of all, since I know that I'm going to create a rocket, I know that the basic shape of a rocket is like a cylinder. So I'm going to start by coming over here and selecting this tool, which is the Create tool. And when you select this tool, it opens up these boxes or these options down here. And if I click this first one, which is already selected, then it gives me access to these object types. Or if I click here, it gives me these object types. There's a couple of different ways we can do this, but what I found probably to be one of the easier ways, if I go to geometry and click on cylinder, then I'll come to one of these views and I can just create a cylinder. It makes the most sense, just due to the way this program works, to actually do it from the top view. This will be very clear soon, these different views. This view is from the top, so it's like if you're standing on top of a building and looking straight down at your rocket, this is what it would look like from the very top. This view is what it would look like from the front. So if you were looking at the front of a car, you would see its headlights, you would see the front windshield, and so on. And then this is the left side perspective. So if you were looking at if you were standing on the right side of a car and looking at its left side, take a sip of water. So you get the idea, and this will become more clear very soon. But let's start with the top view, and I'm just going to create a bit of something that looks like a cylinder. And I can see over on the far right side, let me see if I can actually mouse over here. Yeah, you see where it says radius? That's kind of going to dictate the size. That's going to help me decide how wide I want this to be as that radius. I think, I don't really know. I should actually probably do a Google search real quick to see what the average, diameter is of a rocket, because I honestly, I don't know. But 13 radius, I don't know if that's too big. But what we can do, what we need to do, once we have a general radius set, is we want to move this to the center position on both of these axes. And that is because when you load your object in Orbiter, the focal point is going to be that 0, 0 axis right there. So if you have your object way off over here, the camera is going to be like right here next to your object. And if it's way off over there, that's going to be really weird. And it's also, I believe this is actually also the focal point of like where the engine thrust is expected to come from. So it'd be rather weird if your rocket's over here and your engine thrust is coming from here. So getting it centered here is probably important. So that's centered there. Now to center it left and right, I click on that one, that little arrow, and then I can move it this way. So that's kind of how this works. If you want to center up and down, click that green arrow there. You can center up and down. If you want to center left and right, use that one. So let me zoom in a bit. And that looks perfectly centered there. So now I'm going to click the green one to go the up-down center. And that looks perfectly centered there. Now we have this this cylinder that's only, you know, it's not very big. If we look over here at our height, we can see it's only 5 meters high. And so we need to scale it up. We need to make it larger. Take another sip of water. There's a couple ways we can do that. We can use the scale tool, which is here. But if I do that, it's going to make the rocket taller and it's going to expand the radius at the same time. I'll show you. You can see how that works. That scales the whole object and makes it larger, and I don't want that. So let me just Control Z to undo that. Probably the easiest way to adjust the height is just to come over here and put in a new number. So I don't know what height I want. Let's just start with 135 meters because I believe the vehicle assembly building is something like 175 meters tall. So we'll go with 135 meters for this portion of our rocket. Now, believe it or not, we could actually import this into Orbiter just as it is. But just so that our Hello World example is a little bit more refined, I would like to maybe make something that looks like a fairing on the top. And the easiest way to do that is to come back over here to our tool selection. And this time, instead of selecting spheres and cylinders and all that, we're just going to select the second choice here, which is shapes. And I'm going to go to line. And we're going to draw a straight line, a couple of straight lines here. And it will be the fairing portion. Let me actually zoom in a little bit. So we're going to start right here in the middle. I'm going to go down. And actually what I want to do is have that be a curved line. So let me figure that out real quick. You got to just bear with me. Again, I'm a total newbie at all this, so I'm learning as I go. So I got that selected. I want to make it a curved line. And I don't see that option immediately. Okay, well, I will deal with that another time. So let me start by deleting that line. And we'll try again here. We'll go line selection. And let me just check the mesh settings and all this. And I don't see where it gives me, sometimes it's curved, sometimes it's not, and I can't figure out why that is. So we'll go there, 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 and there, and like there. And then once you have that last little hanging piece, hit escape and it gets rid of it. Now that gives us just the sip water. That gives us the general shape of the fairing. You can see that's the left side perspective. How do we turn that single two-dimensional line into, like we have over here with the, go to the selection tool, like we have over here with the cylinder is actually 3D, and you can see that the line that we just drew is just like a 2D line. It looks kind of silly. Well, if we actually click the line to make sure that it's selected, or click a selection tool and highlight it just to make sure that the line is selected, and only the line. We don't want both this and this. We just want the line selected. So select the line, and then if we come over here to this tool, the modify, and have these weird pop-ups in the way, and we click on the modifier list, we can pick this lathe tool. In the lathe, you'll see what it does. It simply takes our 2D, our two-dimensional drawing, our two-dimensional line, and it makes it it spins it around in 360 degrees. Now, of course, this doesn't look right, but we'll work on it. Now we'll click the move tool, and we'll move our would-be fairing to the center, like that. And now we'll come back over here to the line, click that plus to access these, and we'll click on vertex, and we just want to fix kind of how we just want to fix the shape of it a bit. So the way it spun it around on this axis. So I need this vertex. Actually, I think I might need to segment. So I want to delete that segment, and I want to pull these out a bit because it's spinning. When it does the lathe, it's going around that center point. So let me click on that. One's not letting me move it out. And again, I'm completely new at all this, so don't think that I know what I'm doing, because I don't. Somehow or another, you can move these. We got to go that way with it. All right, let's see. Somehow you can move these points, and what I want to do is I want to move these points out so that we don't have such a skinny. If we go again and look at the lathe, we don't want a fairing that's so skinny. We need it to be much wider. So I can turn that lathe off. And now segment again. And then what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to select that vertex. And I want to drag it, but it keeps wanting to move. So maybe I've got the wrong tool selected. I've got the move tool selected, so let me select that. And that's not right. So, okay. Now we get to learn how to select and manipulate. Maybe that's it. And nope, that's not letting me move that vertex. And I know you can do this because I've done it. I've played around with this for about a day now, and I know it's possible. Sometimes I get into these situations where I end up just deleting the darn line and starting over because it's easier. So I'll just do that this time. Delete the line, and we'll go back and we'll create a new one. So we're going to start there on that center point. We're going to come down to about here. Going to go out a little bit and kind of come around, and then maybe back in, and that's the idea for the fairing shape. Now escape to get rid of the extra line. Now we've got this line that we can lathe. So let's make sure that line's selected. Again, pick your select tool or one of these and just highlight it or whatever, but you don't want both objects to be selected. You just want that line. Now I'll come over here to these tools again and try to lathe that one. And we kind of have that situation where it does this. I don't quite understand yet how it decides where it's going to pick the center point, but that's okay. Again, we'll go to line, vertex, and for whatever reason, this is the point where it's saying that it's going to spin the lathe, and I don't really get that. You would think it would be the center point, but it's not for some reason that I don't completely understand. So again, we'll delete this segment and we will try again to get our vertexes where we want them. First thing we need to do is we want to move the whole thing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's maybe how you do it. So once these are up, now I can bring this one, this vertex, and I want to bring this one this way. And let's see what it looks like on the lathe. That's still weird looking. It's not right. So let's go back to the vertex view. This, I wish I could figure out where it decides that center point's going to be. So let's click on this one because it's not, it's beyond the center point. And we need a fatter fairing. So let's kind of go like that. Well, let's see what that looks like on the lathe. It's kind of a strange shape, but we're getting there. Let's maybe center it up a little bit. And we'll take out that part and we'll smooth out the, we'll round out the top here. So let's go back to vertex. And okay, we don't want that. We want the fairing to basically come down and look like it's, you know, sitting on top of the rocket. Now, and we don't want a pointy shape like that. That's not what fairings look like. So if we come back to vertex, we can kind of maybe just bring that in. Now what I need to do is I need to kind of round this out. And I know that's what I need to do, but figuring out how to do it, that's going to be another story. Okay, let's click here. We'll kind of bring that one in a bit. All right. I think what we can do, I ran into this earlier, if I click on segment here and then I right click and divide it, it gives me another vertex. And I probably want to do that here as well. So we have more vertexes to work with. Now go to the vertex and we're going to click this one. And the idea, you know, trying to make more of a rounder shape here at the top. See what that looks like on the lathe. You know, it's it's got a long way to go, but it's getting there. All right, let's go back to the vertex view. And what I'm going to try to find here is, I know there's a way to give the option to add curves. Ah, here we go, curve. Okay, now I just have to figure out where is it going to make that curve shape. Let's kind of manipulate that a little bit. Maybe click on that segment and then come over here and look at our tool set. And maybe we can figure this out here. So that's create. We don't want create. We've already created. We want to turn this segment or this vertex. We want to have the option to make it curved. And I'm not seeing immediately how to do that. So we will go ahead and accept this oddly shaped, this very oddly shaped fairing. We'll just go ahead and take it as is. All right, now let's import this ridiculous looking thing into Orbiter. Before we do that, there's a bit of a issue that I found and I struggled with and I've overcome. And that is that X, Y, Z coordinates, they're not always equal. It would be nice if this was the same way that Orbiter's set up, but it's not. In Orbiter, up, as far as the coordinate system goes, here we can see that z, this would be, up, but in Orbiter, for some strange reason, or maybe it's this program, the coordinates are different. So what we have to do is we actually have to turn our rocket. We have to rotate it inside of this program so that basically left is right and top is sideways, and that kind of thing. So we do that by using the rotation tool. And fortunately, this is actually pretty easy. You can highlight both segments at the same time so that it rotates them equally. And now I'm just going to drag here, and that's actually not what I want to do, so Control Z. What I want to do is I want to rotate both sections. I want to lay this whole thing down on its side, essentially. So I think what I might have to do first is make this as one piece, essentially. Let me do it this way. Okay, we're going to rotate. Yep, that way. So now that's where, this is the direction that it needs to appear. And now we need to move this piece. Let me actually undo that. Surely you can do both of these at the same time. Let me see, there's got to be a way to link these two meshes together so that they both kind of go over together. Freeze selection, that's not exactly it. Okay, so the not freeze. I want to make this is not, I didn't encounter this the first time because I built the rocket a little bit differently. All right, let's just do it manually, I guess. So we'll take the first section and we're gonna lay it on its side. Now we're going to take this section and we're going to move it. It's a good thing we only built a two-piece rocket here. And now we're going to rotate this section on its side the same way we did before. And we'll move it. And I can see that it's not quite right, so let's click here and move it down till that red arrow is basically centered, and now I can move it forward a half. There we go. Okay, so now that the rocket's laid on its side this way, and you can see the top view shows that the rocket's pointing down, and now the front view is from the top. And it's unfortunate, but this is the way, this is the configuration that the rocket needs to be in order for Orbiter to have it stand upright. Orbiter has this thing called touchdown points, and you can make it work with any way that you have it set, but the rocket will only fire up toward the sky if you have it in this configuration, unless I'm completely mistaken on that, and if I am, somebody can correct me, but I spent a whole bunch of time messing with touchdown points, and I could not figure out how to get the rocket to go up unless I first made the mesh in this direction. All right, now we need to export the mesh. And this is actually something that would require a whole video unto itself, as far as like setting up GMAX and getting this plugin for Orbiter. So I'm just going to do what I have to do, and I'll save explaining how the import export works for a different video. But let's go to the utilities, Max script, and the utility that I want is to export the mesh, and I have to run this little program, this little helper program called Mesh Grabber. And we're going to grab the file, and we're going to call this one Rocket 4 Mesh. Now this program is not doing anything. It didn't make the rocket. This program is waiting for GMAX to do something. So now what I have to do is start the export in GMAX, and you can see it says down here that it's waiting to dump. So basically GMAX is going to dump the mesh into this mesh grabber that's waiting to listen for it. So the way I do that, you just press the space bar. Press the space bar, and it dumps all that data to this program, which was listening for it, and this program grabbed the mesh and actually created the mesh file. All right, so now let's take a look at our rocket inside of Orbiter. Now before we do that, we need to create some kind of configuration file to go along with the rocket. Go to your Orbiter directory, go to config, go to vessels, and the easiest thing to do is to take that carina.cfg that comes with Orbiter, make a copy of it, and edit that. So here you can see we have a Carina 2. Let me actually bring that down. There we go. We have Carina class name, and the mesh name is going to be, I'm actually going to have to look at the folder name. I forgot what I named the folder. I think I called it, okay, I did just call it rocket. So that's where I put the rockets I've been trying to make. So the mesh name is rocket/rocket4. And the image bitmap can stay. It doesn't, you don't need to change that. And I think that's actually all we need to actually see it inside of Orbiter. So let's do that. Let's just save it, close it out. And let's go back to that config folder, and let's rename that file just so that it's not called Carina 2. rocket4.cfg. There we go. Now let's exit there. Let's open Orbiter for a second. We'll just load any scenario. We don't care what scenario it is. And we'll see our handiwork inside of Orbiter. Now with this particular configuration, we're not going to be able to launch it. We still have a little bit more work to do on the config file to be able to launch it, but it's really easy. It's all copy paste. Okay, so here we are. Now we'll use the scenario editor to put our rocket into the scenario. Go down to My Rockets, and let me think about this for a second. Rocket 4. Okay, so there we are. Let's zoom out. And there's our very stupidly designed and oddly shaped rocket in Orbiter. And obviously this thing would never fly. The pointy tip would get extremely hot and cause massive heating. That's why you see, more smoother shapes on the fairings, because they actually work much better. And if we press Control I, we can see our rocket's data. It's 5,000 kilograms. It's 10 meters in size, although I don't know if size is height or width or what. But another good test before you decide that your Hello World example of a rocket is done is to use the scenario editor to place it on a landing pad, because you want to make sure that when it's on a landing pad that it sits with the base at the bottom and points to the sky. If you get all of your touch points wrong, in fact, we didn't set up touch points here, so this isn't going to be a good example, but I'll show you what I mean. When we put it on Cape Canaveral's launch pad, there you have it. You see it's sitting there sideways, and this is what I was talking about with with regards to making sure that you have it set up a certain way inside of GMAX. We can quickly fix this. Let me just exit out of Orbiter, and we'll bring that Rocket 3 CFG file back up. Actually, it was Rocket 4. So let me open Rocket 4. And here we have something, we have to set up what are called touch points or touchdown points. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to copy it so that, because this video is getting over 30 minutes now, I'm just going to come to here and we're just going to copy in these touchdown points. And I would say don't worry too much about what these are. This is basically the X, Y, and Z for the nose wheel, the left wheel, and the right wheel. And understanding how these numbers correlate is a little difficult. Actually, it's really difficult. I spent like 6 hours last night trying to go through and just on touch points, just trying to understand how this worked. And it was really irritating me after a while, so I just kind of gave up on it. So for starters, for our first, Hello World rocket, we're just going to accept that these are the correct touch points. Now let's relaunch that same scenario, and if everything is correct, then our rocket will be standing upright. Give it another second for this to load. I'm take a sip of water while it's loading. And it's not. Of course it's not. Why would it be right? Why would anything be right? Let me just take a quick look real quick, because I might know what I did wrong there. Yeah. Let me get these touch points. Yeah, okay. These, rather, are the correct touch points. And let's just double verify. Let's just verify that real quick by launching Orbiter. Those touch points are hard to understand because there are three, X, Y, and Z isn't too difficult, but when you have 3 different touch points for each point, it's a little weird. So there you have it. That's our rocket. It looks more like an obelisk or something. And again, this rocket currently has no functionality because we just copied the Carina vessel stuff, and the Carina doesn't have any propellant or anything. But in another video, if you find this interesting, leave a comment down below and let me know, and I'll maybe kind of continue with this. But what we have to do now to make this rocket functional is just edit the configuration file to give it some propellant and to give it some engine thrust. But if you press F3 and select the rocket, you can actually get inside the cockpit view and see the camera position isn't very good. We're only 1 meter off the ground. But if we look at the propellant, we don't have any. And if you look at like burn time calculator, there's no engines available. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you liked the video, please like the video. And if you disliked the video for some reason, go ahead and dislike the video. If you're not already subscribed to my channel and you like all this content, please hit the subscribe button down below. And I will see you in the next video.